the element of better communication is how you win. Better communicators deal with evasive clients better. Better communicators prevent clients from ghosting. Better communicators overcome the competition literally standing next to them. That is the differentiator.
Welcome to the Waste No Day podcast, a podcast specifically for and about the home services industry as it relates to plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. More than a podcast, Waste No Day is a credo, a determination, a mindset. It is a never-ending discipline. It is a refuse to lose pursuit. It is a wake-up call every morning to waste no day. Now here's your hosts, Brian Burton and Nate Minnick.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Waste No Day podcast. Your hosts, Nate and Brian, hanging out with you. Looking forward to another great episode. My trusty sidekick is here with me, the general manager of Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, one of the trusted plumbers in the Phoenix Valley. And we are looking forward to spending time talking with you about a new subject today, one that's been kind of top of mind for some of our listeners as well as ourselves, and that is how to deal with the evasive client. And I'm talking about the one that wants to keep you at a distance, meaning they only want to do text message. They're looking for that ballpark. They don't really want an on-site estimate. You know the guy that I'm talking about, the one who's looking for all the information in the world, but none of the commitment. And that's why we need to talk about this, because it's a reality that we in the trades deal with, and it's something that we need to figure out the best solutions for. So looking forward to some great conversation there and getting into that subject. For right now, though, we're going to start off with just a little bit of an introduction. And as always, we're going to start it with a quote from Mr. Burton.
I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. Henry David Thoreau.
The great American poet. All right. Starting us off with some thought-provoking poetry this morning. Very good.
Is there a more encouraging fact than the fact that we can elevate our circumstances at any time by simply trying?
It's a part of what it means to be an American, I think. And do you think that concept exists like everywhere in the world?
Who cares? I don't know. I'm kidding. I mean, in some way, in ways, 100%. Just look at Viktor Frankl.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
It does not matter where you are, including a concentration camp. You can elevate yourself.
Right. If you're not familiar with his story, he was interned in a Nazi concentration camp, and he was a psychologist, I believe.
Yeah.
And found great freedom through the mental exercise of realizing that he could be free within his mind, even though his body was, in prison and
tortured and starved and humiliated and literally tortured.
Wrote an entire book about it.
Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
It's just one of the greatest books ever written. We don't talk about that book a lot on here because it's not the topic. But getting your head around this theory or principle, we'll call it, of the fact that you can elevate yourself from any circumstance by simply trying, by conscious endeavor, and owning that. There's nothing that could really change a life more than that, probably.
Yeah, the mind is a powerful, powerful tool in so many ways. I mean, you think of Stephen Hawking, you think of people who, in many ways, the world will look at them and say, oh, cast them aside. They don't have the physical abilities, or I don't know, those things that we would quote unquote say is normal. And yet the mind is so powerful and so amazing at what it can do and what it has done, from scientific theory to art to composition and so much more. And it also has the ability for you to change your perspective on things, which I think is a personal struggle of mine and something that I would also desire my kids to really understand. Like, it's so easy to go negative. It's so easy to look and find the bad things about the situation, whatever's going on right now, the loss of the game, that you just played, or the fight that you just got into, or the unfair circumstances that you feel, the oppression that is your life, etc. It's so easy, so natural for us to see those things, but to train your mind to actually look for the silver linings, the better things, the optimistic things, and not even necessarily like fake optimism, like just looking for different things that are positive rather than negative. I think that's such a powerful exercise. And if you can master that tactic, man, like it's going to be hard for you to have a bad day.
Yeah. If you want to talk about bad day, both of his parents, his brother, his pregnant wife, all died in the concentration camp.
My word.
And he was being literally tortured, among other things. And during that time was writing about how, well, what he called your attitude the last true human freedom.
Yeah.
Because you can't always control the circumstances surrounding you. But he said you could always control your attitude. I don't remember if it's attitude, outlook, or response or whatever, but that general principle was to him the last true human freedom. And he decided not to be miserable about it.
Which is
and
just
then
ridiculous.
Wrote a book that sold over 16 million copies in 50 languages.
Man.
So you had Freud, who was big on pleasure, right? Almost a hedonist. And then Adler, his focus was power. And Frankl came later and his full focus was on meaning.
Yeah.
Saying that we're meaning seeking animals, like Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann said on this show a couple months ago, right? We're meaning seeking animals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a Viktor Frankl quote from Man's Search for Meaning. And I love I don't know what it has to do with today's episode, but the quote's just been sitting in my quote book for the longest time. And I don't know, you and I have talked about Man's Search for Meaning a handful of times, or probably a lot more than that, I'm sure. But the idea that we can change our circumstances, even if it's just mentally or emotionally, instantly by a decision, is like, that's not the thing in the animal world. Meaning isn't a thing in the animal world. It's unique to us.
Yes.
And the different versions of meaning were like love for another person. Like you can forego like everything else in life for that. Our work, just really diving into something we truly believe in and its impact either on us and our family or on the world. They call it like getting lost. I get lost in my work. And you and I do that. We've done it with Waste No Day. We're doing it now with Blue Collar Closer. I got home at 3:50 this afternoon, jumped right on the live Q&A in Blue Collar Closer group. Just go to bluecollarcloser.com if you want to see more about it. And got on the live Q&A with a bunch of closers from our group. And we just role played like crazy. Supposed to end at 5. And then I had a half hour to go hang with the family before this episode. Nope. Stayed on until, 5:20, 5:25. Opened the door, played with Clara for 30 seconds, walked back in, turn the iPad back on, and off we go and Waste No Day. Right.
Sheesh.
And you're like, oh man, I think you said like, you're going to get burned out. I'm like, no, I'm lost in my work. Like there's so much meaning here, right? How many texts did I send you in the last like couple days? Like I'm not talking podcast reviews, but just that people are saying. It was Colton Buckner. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. This podcast and your visit completely changed my life. I can't even explain how much it's impacted me. And this was a post on Facebook. So like I started applying your training with my clients and the results have been wild. I hit $220,000 in sales this month.
Sheesh.
It's become a whole new game for me. Every day feels like a challenge that I am excited to take on. Everything in my life has changed at home, at work, and all for the better thanks to Waste No Day. Colton Buckner. Like, that's not even the review. We'll read a review too, but goodness, right? I'm lost in my work, man. Burn out. Like, I woke up at 2:28 this morning. I'm just sitting up wide awake, like, well, I guess I ain't going back to sleep. Off downstairs I go, jump on the tablet and like get to work. And dang it, the alarm goes off and I got to get to the gym. I get to the gym 10 minutes early. You saw it. I made a video at the gym waiting for it to open and just started talking about objections. Boom, posted that. Get in, have a great workout. Out of the workout, head to the shop, do some training with the team, and on about my day. And like, there's, always landmines to not step on or do step on. And stress throughout the day like everybody has in any kind of leadership position. But man, most of the day is filled with high impact on people that I want to impact. So work is one of them, and I'm finding a lot in that right now. Your spiritual journey can be one for sure. And Victor talks a lot about that in the book. And yeah, I like the one with the love for another person. You see this in moms all the time. They just forgo everything else for the sake of this little, like, barely human thing that fits in the palm of their hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the search for meaning found. So it's a tough one, man, because I know there are a lot of people listening to this episode who don't find that level of meaning in the work they're doing right now. Let me tell you, just master it anyway. Become an absolute expert in your craft and the highest level producer you have ever heard of anyway. Because I did not like running calls. I did not like turning wrenches. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And I didn't find the meaning then. Then I had bills to pay. I had bosses that I wanted to impress. I had a wife that I wanted to keep. Please, that would be nice. I had kids that I wanted to feed. Would be great. I constantly wanted to level us up. I had records I wanted to beat. But it was not my passion. My heart had never been in it. But it led me to something that my heart's in. And I wouldn't be here if I had not gotten excellent at it. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
It's a fact. See a man who, what's the King Solomon quote? See a man who is an expert at his craft. He will not serve common men. He will serve kings. Is that Proverbs?
That was not ringing a bell, but he has a lot of quotes. So
one or two. Yeah. It's like, what, 8, 12 in Proverbs? Yeah. And I can't stress it enough. It's like, there's all this wackadoo nonsense about follow your passion. If you're not in love with it, if you're not passionate about it, just stop doing it. It's like, no, you're not worth anything. 22-year-old high school dropout Brian from 23 years ago. What was my passion going to lead me to? More video games and hydrocodone. Great. Yeah, that's what I needed to follow my passion. 100%. No, don't follow your passion. That's the dumbest advice you'll ever hear. I don't know who's still saying it these days, but we're going to start taking shots at them. No, whatever you're doing, get excellent at it. Become one of the best that's ever done it. That's your job. Make your passion excellence. And you will find that thing that lights you on fire. I don't know anybody who hasn't once they got excellent. And that thing will be waiting for you. But you're not, if you met it right now, you wouldn't be ready for it. It would spit you out in the current spot that you're at. So you have to master what you're currently doing, and then your passion will show up.
Well, one thing that we hope this episode will help you master is how to deal with some of these more tricky estimates / sort of interested, but keeping you at arm's length clients that come up from time to time. And we're looking forward to jumping into that topic. But before we do, it's time for us to highlight one of you special reviewers out there who's taken the time. We do this every single episode, not only as thank you to somebody who's actually put in the work and given us a review, but also as encouragement to hear from other people their testimonial, if you will, their story, their reason that they take the time to listen to this episode. And I think it serves as an encouragement, not only to Brian and myself, but also to the listener base in terms of like, these things are making differences in the trades. And we hope that it is for you as well. So who are we highlighting this time, Brian?
Great show. 5 stars. Love the show. Lots of actionable items. I take away things we can try in our pest control business. I find pest control to be behind HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. So I use podcasts like yours to stay ahead. Thank you. Carmen from Anchor Pest Control.
All right. I like the innovation. That's fantastic.
Heck yeah, man. We actually do have a lot of pest control people listening to the show. That's, I believe, the first review we've read from one, but they've been on the list for a long time because I get contacted by them. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to do an episode that's a little more geared toward the pest control peeps.
I love some pest control, man. My wife was a big fan of that, and it worked wonders. Like no spiders,
you have less
no
kids
ants.
now? Oh, ants, spiders, right? Gotcha. I got a vasectomy too.
Wow. All right.
You remember what happened when I got to this house in Phoenix?
Where you had the vasectomy?
No, I got that before I left Pennsylvania. I found a scorpion the size of my hand.
Yeah.
We had not even moved in yet. And it was like the house was closed. We pulled up the U-Haul truck or whatever, walked with my two youngest out to the backyard, and we're just kind of walking around because it has like a little 5-hole putting green and like a fire pit. And we're just all like, yeah, it's so cool. And I just walk over the rocks and I'm like, what's that? And it was like dead/dying, but it was alive and it was freaking the size of my hand. And I'm like, okay, we're going back to Pennsylvania. Suddenly the rain doesn't sound that bad. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Give me some overcast skies.
Amelia had some version of Anchor Pest Control and Carmen out that day and just going ham. Oh, and there was like a sun spider in the garage, which looked like scorpions, but without like the big claws.
Word.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a treat. Now, since then, we've seen javelinas, the little pigs, and coyotes, but no bugs since.
Thank God.
Nothing. Like not even, nothing. Not even like an earthworm. So pest controls work. Keep kicking butt out there, Carmen from Anchor Pest. I don't know where you're at, but we appreciate what you do. And I'm going to give pest control 5 stars.
Yes, me too. And perhaps pest control is also one of the industries that struggles with the evasive client.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just going to be the two of us today, and it's time to put ourselves back in your passenger seat. Well, we're hanging out today with just your best friends, of course, because you're listening to this podcast, and obviously. But we're talking about one of the subjects that I'm not sure if we've ever covered this in depth. We might have tossed it around in passing, but I don't think we've ever dedicated an entire episode around the idea of evasive clients, or people who are basically trying to gather all of your free consultation without ever having any level of commitment. And of course, this presents a number of problems, whether you're in the trades or in adjacent industries, because it creates a level of frustration where you have somebody who's indicating they would like to potentially become a client or a customer, but they keep playing this like hard to get game. They keep trying to figure out, if I ask enough questions, maybe they'll give me enough information. And then what am I going to do with that information, Brian? I'm going to take it and I'm going to run, because that's unfortunately where some people are. And that's sometimes a defense mechanism for one reason or another as to how people interact. And so we want to talk about the subject today regarding what a lot of you are probably dealing with now on the quote unquote direct response lead side, whether it's, maybe an Angie's List client or some other version of that, where the initiation of the client is via text message. And you may not necessarily get these text messages directly. Maybe you're not on the owner side or like on that side of things. But I'm sure from time to time, you do get text messages from some of your previous clients or something like that. And they're vague in nature and they're inquisitive to a degree, like, hey, how much would this be? Or what would this look like? Or what do you think a ballpark is? But very evasive when it comes to actually allowing you to come out and do what you do best, which is an on-site evaluation, building the bonding rapport, and all those things. And so it creates this conundrum where, of course, you want to serve a client, but the client is trying to not have you serve them in the best way. And so we're kind of at this two different perspectives on how the call is supposed to go, and we have to solve this. So, Brian, that's a pretty good stage setting, I believe. Let's start this off with perhaps the most common initiation piece, which would be a client who has never used you before and is reaching out just to say, hey, I'm looking to get an idea about how much it would cost for this project or this scenario. Where do we go from here?
So it's like spoiler alert for ruining what could be a 45 minutes of explanation, but it's pretty basic and it's pretty simple. This is all a defense mechanism, right? What are we defending from? I would love for this. Anything I want, I just want to text a company and they give me their price, and I text 3 other companies and they gave me theirs. And I'll also say, like, what's your warranty? And if they all have the same warranty, I'm going for the cheapest one, right? You're saving yourself from dealing with a salesperson. And in most cases, this person has been burned by salespeople and either fell in love with someone that sold them a bunch of crap that they didn't need and was way overpriced and was garbage, and that company was out of business 2 weeks later, or had one of these super high pressure guys that comes in and when they don't buy, they throw a big old attitude and there's a bunch of anxiety in the room and they never want to go through that again. And you're up against those people that you have never met and you are certainly not like, but now it's your job to convince the client of that over a text message. When I say it's an uphill battle, like I can't overstate that. We're in a world of hurt in this situation. And Nate and I have been in this world hundreds of times. Is that even light? I mean, we've been in leadership together for 12 years. And then I was in a truck for that many years before that. Like, it's been a long time. So what we're trying to do, you've got 2 avenues here. Road number 1 that we're going to try to go down. This is the road we need to go down, but on a text, it's going to be a struggle. Road number 1, establish a relationship with this person. So if you make me, and I'm that wounded client of Joe Ripoff previously, and you make me feel like I, in a sense, know you, in a sense, know how you're going to treat me and can trust that you would never treat me like that, I'm going to have you over if you say it's a better idea for you to swing by. That's fine. And they will have you over because, again, you're dealing with a wounded person who's been through the ringer. If you can figure out on that text, email, conversation, podium, hatch, chirp, however you're talking to this client, if you can figure out how to establish yourself as a nice person who would never treat them like that, and they believe it, they will have you over. All they're trying to do is avoid that pain. If you can't, or if it's not your personality, and if you're not a warm person and you struggle to do that, like, listen to enough of these episodes, you'll start figuring that out. But hey, if you don't have time, you got this going on tomorrow, well, now you're going down road 2. Road 2 is to get to that house as quickly as possible. And there are some strategies that I've kind of shaved talking points off of and got it down to what I felt like was as little words as possible, but as effective as possible to get yourself to that home. Not yourself, depending on where you're at. If you're a solo operator, you book all the calls like my twin brother does on the phone, and you might be the guy running out to the call. Then it's you. In most cases, it's you as a CSR, a dispatcher, a manager taking that call and trying to get a tech over there, whatever it is, doesn't matter. The job is to get a truck to that call with as few words being exchanged as possible. So let's run that back. Text me for a price.
All right. So obviously we'll do this via audible text, although this conversation can happen over the phone, but the phone gives you a little bit more of that commitment. So for the sake of this role play, what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, let's make it more difficult. Text is as hard as it gets.
This is going to be, so there's, what do we talk about with communication styles? Body language is the primary one. Tonality is the second one. Words are the third one. You're basically left with just words. I know you can capitalize things, and I know you can use a little bit of creativity in terms of communicating tone. When it comes to a text message, it's basically just words. So you're working with roughly 8% of communication. So starting there, hey, I guess I wouldn't know your name at this point. So
Plumber.
Yep. Hey, plumber, got your number, or got your contact information, and had some leak going on in my house, and I was just looking to see if you could give me some type of like a ballpark price.
Oh, so I guess this is text. It's such a weird thing to speak right now, as if I'm texting. I've never actually role played in this fashion before, but the text should say, "I'm so sorry to hear that you have." I'll do it with no emphasis whatsoever.
Yes, get the Siri voice out. Come on.
I'm so sorry to hear that you have a leak. Mine's actually Jarvis. It's got a little bit of an accent. But the text, I'm so sorry to hear that you have a leak. We will do everything in our power to get that taken care of for you as quickly and cost effectively as possible. One thing we definitely have to do is swing by and take a look at it. I have a tech who will be in your area tomorrow morning, whatever, this afternoon between X and X. I can have him swing by between calls, take a look, and give you a quote. Can you give me your address?
Hey, thanks for the quick response. Appreciate the attentiveness to the message. Certainly not looking to waste your time. It's something that I think maybe could just be identified with like a ballpark range. Can you give me a quote? I don't want to waste your time by having one of your plumbers come out here.
It's no waste of time whatsoever, period. The real waste of time would be to get a plumber on the phone to try to give you a ballpark quote that was nowhere in the range of what it's actually going to be. Again, I'll have someone in your general area at this time. We'll just have them swing by real quick. It will save everyone time. What was your address?
I work some pretty wild hours. Here's a picture of the leak. What do you think this could be caused by?
Pulling out all the stops. Unfortunately, I myself here at this desk am not a plumber. And even if I was, trying to identify something like that via picture is never a good idea. What kind of hours would you be available?
Typically home after 6 p.m. most weekdays.
Would you like us to go ahead and get eyes on that this evening?
Are you available that soon? Question mark.
We can, yeah. Okay. So we're past it. You're booking.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're past it. You're booking. Here's the thing. This is the thing that most people don't focus on, and is the key, most important fact. He said time so many times. The word time. He does not care about wasting our time. Right? If you tell me you don't want to waste my time, what are you really saying?
I don't want to waste my time.
Correctamundo. He feels like he should be able to get this estimate over the phone, via text, via picture, what have you, without having to carve out several hours of his day. Now, one thing I left out that I should have said is such an important factor, is to say, hey, we're going to book you between 6 and 9 tomorrow evening. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make sure that the tech reaches out to you about 30 minutes away from your house. That way, if you have things going on, you got to go do whatever, just stay within 30 minutes and we'll meet you there on the money. Exactly when the tech says he'll be there. Would that make it easier for you?
Right.
Right. So all we're trying to do is mitigate, one, the feeling of this is going to be a long, drawn out, arduous process that's going to add stress to the day. So I say things like swing by, between calls, pop by. I'll throw in things like get out of your hair. He'll swing by for a quick quote, pop by for a quick visit. He'll be in and out. He'll throw you that quote, end all of them with, and then he'll be out of your hair. Won't take much time at all. Now, here's what happens. Once he's on the job and we've met and we're having a conversation, guess what all goes out the window?
Well, obviously at that point, I can't hold you at arm's length anymore because you are actually right next to me.
Yep. And if you're a good person and just a cool cat a decent dude, a decent lady who can get along with people in 99% of cases or higher. All of this angst and anxiety by the client thinking that some bear is going to show up and just treat them like crap. As soon as you show up and meet them, all that other stuff just goes away. There could be diagnostic stuff here that's going to take hours. We have no idea, especially when they just say leak. And what's the picture always? A drip of water on a pipe or like a wet ceiling.
Right.
Like, we have no idea what we're looking at. And even if we do, in whatever industry you are in, you don't know what caused any of it. So to even try to throw them a ballpark is such a ripoff of them and you. But what you're trying to do with your language, and this is super important because in the text, all you have is your language, is diminish their feeling of this being a huge production. You are going to make it sound 1,000 times simpler than it actually is in most cases. Swing by, poke my head in the door, take a look at what it is, throw you a quote, and I'll be out of your hair. This is the exact type of language I would use on a text, on Podium, in an email, whatever, however you're getting that done.
So let me push back a little bit on that, Brian, because I'm putting myself in the listener's seat right now, and I'm thinking like, okay, I bet you there's some people out there who, maybe not them, but maybe some competitors in their market, do some get in the door quotes over the phone. And maybe they even say like, oh, hey, that's probably like, I don't know, maybe $200 to $300, just so they lowball it, just so the client says like, oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, come on over. And then upsell. Oh yeah, $3,000 later, knowing full well that it wasn't going to be $200 or $300. So assuming that we don't want to get into that tit for tat competition, because what the homeowner is really doing here is akin to like the realty world, right? It's just the reverse. In the realty world, which is, for a lot of us, it's very difficult right now to buy a house and those types of things, and prices are crazy. And so what do people do? Well, number one, you don't know how many people are bidding on the house. And number two, you don't know their offers. And you only know their offers if and when the realtor is really trying to drive up the price. And they're like, hey, yeah, they already have an offer. Here's how much it is. You're going to have to go over top of that. And so like, you don't always know. And so you're just kind of throwing the offer out there. Now put that back in the scenario. And what the homeowner is trying to do is they're trying to get somebody to agree to actually the reverse, the lowest price. And then they're going to say, cool, I can ghost these first two contractors and I'll go with the third guy because he told me $200. And then of course, that's where the story ends. And we never know whether it's a happy ending or a frustrated ending, because the homeowner never goes back to contractor 1 and 2 who refused to give a price. They just either go forward and begrudgingly pay the upsale by the third contractor, or they tell the third contractor to get lost and they go back to the market, never going back to contractor 1 and 2. And so kind of putting yourselves in, or putting us in the place of like, okay, if we don't want to be the contractor that is providing just a straight up guess, like, I don't know, $200 to fix a leak. Well, we all know that's not happening, right? The Sawzall's not even getting turned on for $200. And yet some people are going to find that and they're going to feel like the client is getting coaxed away from them as the better provider by this too good to be true number, which actually is too good to be true. So how do we deal with that?
That's a toughie, buddy, because you can try to have that conversation, but you sound like you're just disparaging your competitor.
Yeah.
But you can absolutely say things like, I've seen this scenario hundreds of times. Unfortunately, what tends to happen a lot in my industry is people throw a super lowball number in there to get themselves in the door and then give you the quote unquote real price. And what kind of company do you think does something like that?
Yeah.
Is that a company you really want to trust with your home?
Right. That's my take on it. Like my take on it is, and I shared this with one of the people on the Blue Collar Closer group, is like, just go ahead and assume that that's happening. Go ahead and assume that the homeowner is in fact blinding everybody to what's going on, playing the odds and looking for the person who's going to say $200. and then use that and actually turn it into your differentiation. Meaning like text message. Hey, Mr. Homeowner, appreciate you giving me the opportunity to take a look at this issue going on in your home. Definitely feels like something we could address. Very sorry that you're having to deal with it right now. As you've probably found interacting with multiple other contractors, that tend to be in the same space, you're probably going to find one or two of them that may give you a price. And what I can tell you is that price will almost certainly always change after they get on site. The reason that we really would have a best opportunity here if one of my guys would swing by and pop into your house later on today would be so that we could give you the real price up front and we don't have to worry about the ifs, that's, and whatever else may happen after the fact. Does that sound good to you? Right. And so it's kind of that bee rabbit concept, from 8 Mile, where you're stripping away all of the competition's ammo. And you're just acknowledging the fact, Chris Voss would call it labeling. You're acknowledging the fact that like these things are probably happening. They're probably going on right now. They're probably running through the client's mind. You might even say like, hey, you're probably looking for a lowest price. You're probably looking for somebody who can take care of this at the cheapest. And even engaging in that way, and they may even push back and they may say, well, I'm not really looking for the cheapest. Oh, okay, cool. Well, here's why we don't provide a blind quote, those types of things. And so I think there's different ways of interacting with a text message client. And I'll give you another example. So one thing that, we struggle with at our office is recruiting. As many people do in the trades, it's a challenging period. We all know that there's a skills gap, a trade gap. We know that there's more work than there is, people. And we know that things like the commercial and industrial side of things often peel off a lot of the workforce, to handle the bigger jobs and stuff, which leaves the residential side a little bit harder to find people. Not only do they have to know the skill of the trade, but they also have to be able to like pass a background check and a driving check and, communication, look, eye contact, all those types of things. So there's a lot of hurdles to get over. And very similar to the evasive client is also the evasive applicant, meaning the guy who, may have applied to your listing, or maybe you reached out to them and maybe they started a conversation, maybe even had like a phone call or something like that. And what we've experienced is time after time, even after a positive phone call where we're like, hey, cool, it sounds like this might be something we'd like to, talk a little bit more deeply about. Why don't you come in for an in-person interview? Is we get ghosted time and time and time and time again. Even by guys who were absolutely saying over the phone, like, oh yeah, definitely be interested in this. Cool, set up. I'm available on Thursday, at 3 p.m. Awesome, great. Thursday, 3 p.m. comes, no knock on the door, no ring of the doorbell, nothing. And so I encouraged our HR manager, like, hey, before you hang up the phone, give a statement of cognitive dissonance to the applicant to make sure they're going to come in. It's not going to be a guarantee, but it's an element of strategy to make them say out loud that they're going to come in. And so again, the concept will be, I'm having a phone call with Brian. Hey, Brian, it sounds like you're pretty interested. Is this something that you would be willing to come in to have a little bit more of an in-person interview with our operations manager? And Brian would say something like, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something I'm interested in. Awesome. Okay. So when would you be available? And he'd probably say something like, this Thursday, anytime after 2. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Brian, could I just ask you before we close out here? I found that a lot of guys, when we have a good conversation like this, they're all gung-ho about coming in, having an interview. And then for one reason or another, something else happens and interview time comes and they're not here. And I'm kind of left scratching my head saying, what just happened? So I guess I want to ask you, when you say that you're going to come in here on Thursday at 2 p.m., can I count on you? Right? And just make them say, yes, sir, you can count on me. And you're making them vocalize their commitment. Again, no guarantees, but it is them putting out there into the atmosphere that they are committing to this. And it's a lot harder, as Weldon Long pointed out in his book, it's a lot harder to go against that when you've stated it that way. So bringing that back to the client situation, maybe that's even something that, can be deployed in terms of getting people to engage with you and differentiating yourselves from everything else that every other lowball contractor out there is doing, or lowball tradesperson, or whatever industry you're in terms of making yourself different over text message. Because if you're dealing with a client over text message, you can almost guarantee that they are dealing with other providers of the same solution via text message as well. So now it's a standout game. Now, how are you going to be different than everybody else doing the same ... texting to that client?
Yeah, that was in Influence as well. Dr. Robert Cialdini's book, there was a chain of steakhouses, I believe, and their rate of people just not showing up for reservations was like 40% or something. And they just added one question after booking the reservation. Can I count on you to give us a call 24 hours before if you're not going to show up for the reservation? It's better language than that, obviously. So they asked that one question and it went down to like 10%.
Yeah. Amazing.
It was like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was staggering numbers because of cognitive dissonance, because now I said it and I affirmed it. So now I didn't make a mistake. If I don't do it, I'm a liar.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who least want to be known as a liars. So they're extra careful about not getting caught in a lie.
Right. And so that's another concept that, not only do you have the evasive client on the front end, but you also have the ghosting client that everybody deals with as well. The guy who says, oh yeah, definitely, I'll be there. And like you go knock on the door and ain't nobody home. Right. Which is another frustration, perhaps even more frustrating, because like you thought you had the chance and then it was just a massive waste of time. You did all the text messages, you got the guy on the hook, so to speak. You set up the appointment. Everything seems good. You knock on the door. Nobody's home. Brian, I bet that's happened to you a time or two.
We've been getting shellacked with that lately, with maintenance calls.
And what do you do?
Well, I know what we're about to do. We're going to talk to our call center about adding in language to say, so we can count on you. Because here's the deal. We get slow on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, especially Wednesdays. So instead of booking a bunch of maintenance calls on like Monday and Friday, we're saying book it out a little further on to Tuesday and Wednesday, because we'll have some demand calls on the other days. For those who don't know, summertime in Phoenix is the slow season because all the people who don't like the heat, they leave for the summer and go to their nice house in Nate's neighborhood and get rained on for the entire summer.
At least we still are, we can step outside and live. So that's positive.
Yeah. So some language in there about, hey, we're going to book this a little bit further out into next week. Can we count on the fact that you're going to be there for the appointment before we go ahead and book it? Would mitigate a ton of that. It just never crossed my mind until we're sitting here having this conversation. See why I like Waste No Day so much? Because I get to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rolling in your dirty passenger seat, kicking all your empty Rockstar energy drinks out of the way here, chilling with you, driver, listener. I'm learning myself.
So another one I want to cover here, Brian, we kind of talked about the evasive client, the person who's trying to get you to not come to their house. And I think we've given some really good context around how to navigate that conversation. Listen, if you can get the person on the phone, like an actual phone call or a video call, that's going to be worlds better than trying to do the text message thing. And maybe, listen, you can have, I'm sure you're going to have a number of trials at this thing. And so you can run it back a couple times and see what's most effective. But maybe that's even another strategy to say, hey, I would love to take a look at that leak for you. It'd be great if I could come over. And they deny. Okay. Hey, would you be willing to FaceTime me? Would you be willing to FaceTime me or, Zoom me or whatever while you're at the house? And like go with it from that angle, because then at least you have the ability, in that case, you would have the ability to actually demonstrate body language and tonality and words, because you would have the video portion of the call. But if you can't get there, at least try for a phone call. Every time you level up on your communication from text to phone, you're gaining tonality, and from phone to video, you're gaining body language. And so you're winning and going to be far more successful in communication as you go up that chain. So we talked a lot about the evasive client who's trying to hold you off. We've talked a little bit about the ghosting client who just never shows up and some ideas around there. And one more I want to talk about is you roll up and there's already a van of a competitor sitting in the driveway. Brian, I know this has happened to you, and I know it happens to our guys from time to time. And so I want to talk this out a little bit, because in a scenario, in a world where you have a client, and in many times the client is, if they're being served multiple providers, they may actually be setting up multiple estimates, maybe even at the same time, because sometimes people just don't care and they're like, we're going to make this awkward for everybody. So what do you do when you pull up and there's a van of a different color sitting in that driveway and you're like, great, what do I do now?
Forget about what I would do. Let's talk about what Mr. $13-14 million in a truck in 1 year. Brent Buckley, who sold over $100 million in HVAC equipment in his career.
Whew.
Let's talk about what he did. He posted a pic on Facebook a few years ago. He took a selfie beside a technician from another company, Gettle. And posted it on Facebook and said, when the competitor shows up at the same time as you, may the best man win.
Game on.
In front of the house, like in front of the client's garage, he did this. Game on. Who do you think sold that?
Mr. Buckley.
Poor competitor who is probably just deer in the headlights while this freak is taking a selfie with him. Because you know how you feel. You feel a little bit of anxiety when you're like, oh gosh, the competitor's here. Guess how they feel?
Right.
The exact same way. The exact same way. Whoever gets confident first wins. And Brent smiled, probably laughed, said, oh my gosh, this guy has no idea what he's in for. I'm going to come in 30% higher and I'm going to get the sale. That's how he talks. I guarantee that's what he said. Remember when he said, I made an awesome reel out of it with like a doodly drawing of Brent saying this. I'll post it in the Facebook group here in the next few days. Shoot me a text and remind me, because I'll never do that. He said on a Waste No Day episode, I'll have invoices from competitors for similar equipment to what I'm presenting for 20 to 30% less, $4,000 to $6,000 less than what I'm quoting. So they don't have to call another competitor. I'll show them cheaper. But with the value I'll build between what they will do and what I will do, I have no problem still getting that sold.
It's amazing.
And the rest of us are just weak. Because he hits it that head on. Like with that much confidence, who's not buying from him?
Right.
And we're going to go in all timid and meek and like, what was the exact script I was supposed to say in this? I don't know. Right. Oh gosh, there's a competitor here. Hey, bro, I'm going to call dispatch. There's someone here already. Like, do I have to hit this? Versus, may the best man win. Hey, bro, let's get a selfie real quick because I'm about to go sell this and I'm going to be more expensive than you. The confidence there, right? Now, why does he have that level of confidence? Because he's been in that situation a million times and done it. He knows what he's about to do. How do you get that confidence? Because you don't have it now, for sure, right? Most of our audience, you go sell it. Like you walk in there saying, game on, I'm going to get this sold. In every scenario that we just talked about, in all of these scenarios, if you walk in 10 times more confident than the client, you're just getting what you want. You're getting what you want. People are built for compliance. Ed Milet says this all the time in sales. He started in door-to-door sales. Sales. The weakest salespeople, the hungriest salespeople who don't eat well, spend their entire career trying to convince the client to believe them. When in reality, a client doesn't have to believe you. They just have to believe that you believe you. Because in any debate, argument, or selling situation, the most confident person wins. The person who's the most believable wins. And the biggest killer of salespeople is nerves. We haven't used the analogy in a while, probably, right? I use it at every boot camp. It's a way that people will understand what I mean by this. I had a buddy, Nick, I grew up with, terrified of dogs. Well, this is what he said. Dogs hate me. He was bit by a dog when he was a kid. Not like big, ferocious scars across his face or anything, but he got bit and it scared the crap out of him. And now what he would say all the time is like, dogs hate me. And we would walk by these yards, fenced in yards with dogs. Like when I'm by myself or with my bro or whatever, we would like pet the dogs and whatever. When Nick would be with us, they would just, and they're just standing there showing their teeth. And at 10, 11, 12, whatever we were years old, we would go, God, Nick's right. Like dogs hate this dude. It's crazy. Well, now looking back, I'm like, no, they didn't. He got a panic look. His adrenaline spiked. He started sweating, probably got out of breath because he was scared of dogs. The dog saw him in his nervous, terrified state and said, I can't trust this dude. Now, I don't know what his problem is. All I know is I'm going to keep him away from my property, myself, and the family behind those four walls that I'm here to protect. And they just started showing their teeth. Now, let me ask you a question. Are humans any different from those dogs in that way? Yes, we walk on two legs.
I think you're spot on, Brian. And this is why one of my favorite episodes that we have done was David J.P. Phillips. That's back from February 24 of 2025. And he talks about body language and what it's conveying in terms of trust or lack thereof, genuineness, actually, it's more than just like eye contact. It's more than just like how you're positioning your body. It's what you're doing with your hands, with your feet, rocking back and forth. All these things have signaling messages to the homeowner. And you're talking about that Brent Buckley walking in there. I guarantee you he wasn't shuffling when he was standing at the table while his competitors to the left. They're shuffling. They're nervous.
It's Coral Whale, right? She says she goes in the fridge and grabs something to drink and asks the client if they want something in their fridge.
Exactly.
And she's not doing that to prove a point to the client. Like she's getting that comfortable in that home. It's as much hers as theirs is what she feels like in that moment. But no, the people you're selling to are no different than that dog. If they see you shuffling and fidgeting and nervous and barely able to make eye contact, and your shoulders are forward and you're hunched down and you're just looking around too much and your energy's off, you are just in a nervous situation that you're not used to. So you look a little nervous. That's all that really is, right? But what does a client see? Why are you acting shifty, dodgy, nervous? You're up to no good. I can't
trust you.
I can't trust you. Therefore, I am not going to do business with you. Now, I'm not going to tell you I don't trust you because you look nervous and that tells me you're lying. I'm going to tell you, it's a lot of money. Give me a few days to think about it. And you're going to go, oh man, every time the stupid think it over objection. And I tried the rebuttals they said on the 7 deadly objections. And those rebuttals don't work. They don't have to think about it. They just don't trust you.
I tell you what, Brian, that's like the best rebuttal in the world is not sufficient to overcome the worst body language.
Yeah, no, you're not getting there. It sucks because it's like, this is why we talked about it. Part of the reason it was so hard to finally do an all objections, 7 deadly objections episodes. Like, I know for a fact that the most timid person, the newer cat in the field, not used to people, not training on communication, not doing role plays, not in the blue collar closer group. What? Like, what's wrong? $50 a week? You're not in there. Like, you won't make that back? BlueCollarCloser.com. Not doing anything like that, right? You are going to get chewed up and spit out. they'll end up with 33 objections just to tell you no. And all it is they are like that dog. They don't know why you're nervous. All they know is, I'm not sticking around to find out. And it sucks. It really sucks for our end, for the tech's end, the young tech, not young by age, but young by not having had a lot of communication training and not being ready for this. It sucks because you're not up to no good. You're not doing anything wrong. You're a great person and a phenomenal technician, but you hate this communication piece. You're not good at it. And you look nervous because you are nervous because you don't like the situation. But everything you say is true, and everything you would do would be top-notch, excellent work. And in reality, they can probably trust you more than most people in the HVAC industry. But your body lied to them and told them you're not competent. And real good communication training, like what we do in the blue collar closer community, bam! Nate's just turning green right now. He just hates self-promotion. Like what we do in there, but it's legit. Is it not legit? You've been on my Q&As. What are we making them do? Strangers, people I've never met before. We're sitting on live video. Your turn. Let's go. You got 60 seconds. Here you go. Yep. 60 seconds. Go. And you're going. And we just got off that call and people are sitting there going like, man, the nerves were crazy, but man, it felt good. It felt good. It's 50-year-old dudes who have never role played before. Feels great. You just got a little communication out of the way. Uh-oh. You just got a little bit better. And look, nobody's going to go in tomorrow and double their ticket average from today. But you're going to keep doing that and doing it and doing it. And you're not going to notice, but wins are going to start stacking. You're going to walk with your chest out a little bit more. You're not even going to notice it. But your paycheck's going to start noticing it all of a sudden. And your conversion rate's going to go up. So your marketing cost goes down, baby. And the whole team gets more profitable.
And your customer service scores are going to go up.
Oh, my customers are going to be like, he took such good care of me versus like it's mediocre now. It's not mediocre. It's the same level of care, but you present it differently. They believe in you more. It's the wildest thing. Dude, if you want to hear more, service@wastenoday.net. Shoot us an email. Ask anything. What I'm going to respond with is, here's the link to our free Wiser Wednesday training every single Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Arizona time, which right now is 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. You're more than welcome to invite anyone you want for free to Zoom into that training, which is great training by the baddest trainers in the industry every single Wednesday morning. And I'm going to invite you to the Blue Collar Closer community with a link and say, check it out. Less than $50 a week, world-class freaking home services sales training and all kinds of other stuff. Tons of stuff, tons of people. We've been at this point open for 3 weeks. We got 84 members in there already. Thing's going to blow up. Get up in there. But either way, service@wastenoday.net. Shoot us an email. Whatever. We got your back.
Well, we hope that this episode has given you the confidence that it takes to deal with some of these more challenging situations. Whether you have an evasive client who's trying to keep you at an arm's length and not allow you to actually come over, or you're dealing with ghosting clients who always seem to not be at their appointment, even though you've confirmed with them, or you're dealing with a client who is just putting you and everybody else at the same place at the same time to try to drive the world crazy. There's a lot of these different scenarios that can occur, and we hope that today's episode has been an intriguing and confidence-building look into how to deal with some of these things. At the end of the day, every time in these scenarios, the element of better communication is how you win. Better communicators deal with evasive clients better. Better communicators prevent clients from ghosting. Better communicators overcome the competition literally standing next to them. That is the differentiator. You have an amazing skill. You have an amazing trade. You have spent time, years, hours and hours dedicated to the craft of what you do. Listening to this podcast for 1 hour a week is not sufficient, nor is it comparable to the investment in your communication that you need to be doing, that you did to learn the trade in the first place. So let's be real. If you know how to turn a wrench, and you know how to do some soldering, and you know how to strip some wire, and you know how to do all these things the best way, do you know how to communicate the best way? My guess is no. And it's time now, perhaps no better time than right now, to start investing in that side of you. And I guarantee you, you will see the results come. We're going to leave it there, and we're going to leave it with our weekly challenge, which continues to be the same: to choose to wake up each and every morning and waste no day.